All right, so welcome to today's 1 hour session. As you can see, the topic today, youth leadership training in providing the Sport Prevention Plus Wellness High School program. My name is Dr. Chudley Wirch. I'm founder and president at Prevention Plus Wellness LLC, located here in beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. And it's a beautiful sunny day today, nice and warm. I hope it's nice where you're at. I certainly hope you're all well and safe, and thank you for joining us today. We've got almost a completely filled session, and we've got people from throughout the country, perhaps even abroad, joining us today. So thank you all for taking time from your busy, hectic schedules. I know you've got a lot on your plate, so I hope that you will find this webinar of use. It's very unique webinar compared to the others. In the past, and primarily we focus on providing you, the prevention and health specialist, with the tools to provide programs that integrate the prevention of substance use with the prevention of chronic disease risk by focusing on promoting those wellness habits, sport, physical activity, healthy breakfast and nutrition, sleep and stress control, even spirituality, and even more recently, social justice. Those are all of our programs, address all of those wellness topics and more. But today, it's going to focus on youth. So today is the focus on what are we going to, and how can we provide youth with some training and some tools so that they can assist us, the professionals, or you, the professionals, I should say, with expanding your prevention and wellness message. So it's youth being trained to provide a peer programming, peer messages, programs, campaigns, etc. So that's what today's topic is about. So there's actually 3 objectives for today's webinar. The first is to review pre-intervention concepts, including the 3 steps for providing the single session prevention plus wellness programs to youth peers. So really, this presentation and these slides would really be going to you as the professional so that you can train your peers to then provide these evidence-based messages to their colleagues, their same age or younger age peers. The second message is to practice, and this would be youth practicing, implementing the sport, and that's today's topic. The topic is sport, which is an primarily alcohol and other drug prevention plus wellness program, and we're going to focus on the sport program for high school students. So in other words, this would be useful for you to train your high school youth to provide to their same age peers, or maybe juniors to seniors to provide to freshmen, sophomore. So, but that's what we're talking about. And this kind of training can happen with all prevention plus wellness programs. And I'll explain a little bit more of that in just a few minutes. Third objective is to identify post-intervention strategies to ensure high quality prevention plus wellness program implementation by youth to their peers. So essentially, you've got a 3-step process here. You've got pre-intervention concepts that young people need to become aware of so they understand prevention plus wellness, its model, its focus, and steps for implementation. Secondly, actually walking them through the program slides so that they can present this content to their peers. Thirdly, talking about post-intervention strategies to ensure high quality implementation of the youth of this content to their peers. I hope it's clear. If it's not, let me tell you this. You have the live chat option. So if there's anything I discussed today that isn't clear, and I think this is the more complicated topic that we discussed. If it's not clear, please ask me a question. And then at the end of today's session, we will go back and we will answer those questions. Remember, everybody who's registered will receive a 1-hour CEU certification for participating in this session. And I will be sending you a link to this recorded session so that you could share that widely with your colleagues in your region, area, state, and even nation. So let's take a look before we continue along and start the content. Let's do a quick poll to see what your interests are and what your needs are. And so I'm going to launch the poll right now. It'll take just a moment to get to you. And there's 3 simple, very quick questions. So when you see these pop up on your screen, please do answer them. Scroll down, answer all 3 of them. The more of you that answer, the better, so that we have a full feedback from all of you who are online, so we could tailor the training today, the webinar, a little bit, and then we could understand who is on today's session. So question number 1, are you interested in training youth in your organization or region to provide evidence-based prevention programs, campaigns, or messages? Yes, maybe, no. Question 2, and again, you'll need to scroll down to see all these questions. Which of the following are you most interested in training youth to provide to their peers? And this is a multiple choice item, so you can answer more than one response, one answer to question number 2. Same with question number 3, multiple choice, and the question is, which prevention topics are you most interested in training your youth to present to their peers? And there's a number of topics there. So let me give you just a couple more minutes to complete that. The more of you that answer, the better. We'll have a better understanding of who's online and what your interests are, your needs are. So please do participate. Just takes a moment to answer those 3 questions. And actually, it's quite fun to do that. It's like voting. It's like everybody's going to be voting in November 3rd. Here's your chance to practice your voting right here at Prevention Plus Wellness during this webinar. So practice your voting, cast your lot right here. This is your chance to have your voice heard. And don't forget, throughout this session, you do have the chat option. So any comment you want to make, any question you want to ask, if you want to share anything that's working with you regarding this topic in your area, or something that you're having a problem with, this is your hour, your time to share and support each other. So please feel free to use that chat option. We will go back at the end of today's slideshow and we will look at all the comments and questions in the live chat. And we will take about an hour, but I'm happy to stay longer if you want to stay longer than an hour. All right, we've got over 8 and 10 of you have participated, which is about as good as it can possibly be. I think that would be awesome if during our elections in our country and our localities that we had 8 out of 10 people, over 80%. All right, I've sent the results to everybody. You should be able to see them now. The answer to question number 1, are you interested in training youth in your organization or your region to provide evidence-based prevention campaigns or messages or programs to their peers? Most of you are, and the remaining of you may be. So you're in the right place. I'm glad you're here, because that's what we'll be discussing today. We'll be talking about how this content can be used by you as a professional to train your youth in any of our Prevention Plus Wellness programs. So this is a process. I'm introducing it to you. This is unfortunately not one of our free services, not one of our free offerings, which we do offer a lot on our website at preventionpluswellness.com. But what we're introducing you to is actually what we call youth leadership training. And so you're going to be introduced as to how this works. So in addition to you providing evidence-based programs to youth, you can also train youth to provide these same messages or very similar messages to their peers, expanding the reach of your program and having that essential peer-to-peer instruction, which research shows can be quite effective. Question 2, which of the following are you most interested in training youth to provide to their peers? The winner is in-person prevention program messages. All right, well, that makes sense. That could be the most powerful. And of course, that is an option here. But with COVID, you can also address these and provide these messages in these other mechanisms or approaches. In other words, you could provide these same evidence-based programs live online by recorded video and using these messages in media marketing. So all of this is possible. that we'll be presenting today. And of course, ideally, I agree with you completely, if you could have the peers provide this to groups of their youth, to provide this to groups of their peers in person, that's the ideal setting. May not be possible, or may have to be adjusted to smaller groups with spacing and so on due to the pandemic. But if you can do that, definitely that's the key. That's the number one choice to pick. Third question, which prevention topics are you most interested in training your youth to present? Marijuana, that's sort of interesting, but very close to marijuana is alcohol and e-cigarettes. Those are the top three, the big three that are most prevalent, most prevalent among youth throughout the country. And then many of you are also interested in health and wellness behaviors and some of these other topics as well. All right, well, thank you so much for participating. That makes sense to me, and we will address those issues as we go along today. So let's take a look at the pre-intervention concepts. Remember, pre-intervention concepts, intervention materials to present from youth to present to their peers, and then post-intervention insurance of quality of intervention. So here's the process. So this material, the way we present it, we would be providing this training to you as a prevention or health specialist, and then you would take these slides and present it to your youth, I should say, and then the youth would have the content here in these slides to present this to their peers. So that's the plan. So as this slide shows, I just wanted to give you an overview of the substance use / risk behaviors and the age levels that are addressed by our single session prevention plus wellness programs, because there's an array of them. All of these can be trained, youth can be trained to provide all of these programs to their peers, just as we provide training to professionals to provide them to youth. So today we're focusing on Sport PPW, which is an alcohol and other drug use prevention program, the high school version, but we also have middle school, elementary school version. We also have the vaping prevention plus wellness program. That's an e-cigarette use prevention program. We have a high school, middle school, and elementary school version. We've got a marijuana PPW, or prevention plus wellness program. That's cannabis use focus on high school, middle school, elementary school version. So you see so you've got so many options. You could actually train high school youth to provide the marijuana PPW program to middle school youth, or elementary school youth, or middle school youth provide it to their same age peers or elementary school youth. So there's lots of options here. We've got an opioid PPW program. Obviously, the focus is on preventing opioid use disorder. And this is somewhat unique because we've got an adolescent version as well as a high-risk men and a high-risk women version. We've got the In-Shape Prevention Plus Wellness Program, which is alcohol and drug use prevention, and that's for young adults. So this is perfect for campuses and communities, and it's even being used in the U.S. military, Air Force. And our latest program, the newest program of all that we've created, Racial Justice PPW, focuses on anti-racism and racial discrimination, and this is for youth. This is a youth program. So you could have all of these programs be implemented by you as professionals. We do that by offering program manuals with digital downloads and 2-hour online program implementer training. But we also provide youth leadership training, which we do in about an hour. And this is designed for you as well as the professional. We go through these slides, this content, along with the selected slides from the program you're interested in. Again, today's focus is Sport PPW for high school. And then you could turn around and train your youth to provide this to their peers. So you'll understand it a little bit more as we go along. Again, if you have questions, you could ask them in the live chat option. So what are the wellness promoting or chronic disease risk preventing behaviors that are addressed by PPW programs? You can see them listed here. There's 7 of them. We're always, all of our programs promote participating in physical activity and sports, critical, sort of a foundational health habit. as well as eating healthy breakfasts and other healthy foods, especially fruits and vegetables, which are lacking among young people, getting adequate sleep, which is so desperately needed among young people, controlling stress, the same thing, and setting and monitoring multiple health behavior goals. That's the self-regulation piece, not just to avoid substance use, but to also improve protective wellness behaviors like those above: physical activity, nutrition, sleep, etc. Also, we have spiritual behaviors addressed in the In God's Image program, that's IGI, and we have anti-racism behaviors addressed in our latest new program, Racial Justice Prevention Plus Wellness. So one thing young people need to know, and of course, most of you as health and prevention specialists already know, that research shows that healthy lifestyles have a certain benefit for them, for youth as well as adults. Healthy lifestyle being regularly physically active, eating well, eating nutritiously, getting adequate sleep. And we know research shows that those engaged in a healthy lifestyle, under number one, report less depression, anxiety, unsafe sex, and for those of you prevention specialists, less alcohol, tobacco, and illicit drug use. But there's other benefits as well. As you can see, number two, improved physical and mental health and self-reported quality of life, more positive self-image, self-esteem, self-regulation, self-confidence, greater brain development, cognitive functioning, all of this associated with being active, healthy, eating well, getting sleep, more opportunities to socialize, have fun, make friends, greater academic success. Research shows that healthy lifestyles are associated with less suspension in school, greater attendance, less dropouts, more likely to attend and complete college. And all of these behaviors, these wellness behaviors, are associated with less chronic disease, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, stroke, obesity, etc. So prevention specialists, really important to focus on not just the harm messages, not just the risk messages, but also addressing healthy lifestyle, which is so important to overall health, whole health, but also has a specific importance to preventing substance use and reducing even a mental health problems. So prevention really is a much broader topic, and I know many of you, I'm speaking to, singing to the choir, if you will, but these are things that you should be, if you're going to train youth need to know this when they present prevention plus wellness programs. This is really a critical concept, a pre-intervention concept to teach your youth leaders to understand before they present prevention and wellness programs or prevention plus wellness programs. Now, all prevention plus wellness programs use an evidence-based practices screening and brief intervention format. So that's what the prevention plus wellness programs are. They can be expanded beyond a single session, and they can be presented in different unique ways, which we'll be discussing today. But here's the 3 steps typically for PPW programs. That is step number 1, you screen youth for their current health habits. This increases awareness of their behaviors, substance use behaviors, as well as protective wellness behaviors. Secondly, you provide feedback on each one of those behaviors. You use a script, you use your PowerPoint slides. In the case of youth, they could just use the slides. We make it easier for them to present to their peers. And this is designed to increase motivation for change, because that content that focuses on positive images, excuse me, we believe triggers desired future images of themselves, which are naturally motivating. And thirdly, you capitalize on that additional motivation, that increased motivation, by walking your youth participants to set and monitor goals to avoid substance use, to increase protective wellness behaviors, and this increases self-regulation or self-control skills, which are so desperately needed by youth, particularly high-risk youth. So that's a 3-step: screening, feedback, and goal setting. All of this is based on, and all prevention plus wellness programs are based on, the behavior image model. This is the conceptual or the theoretical model. It's a marketing-related model. It focuses on providing brief interventions, generally speaking, but the key point is that it integrates the prevention of substance use and other risks with the promotion of wellness behaviors. And there's two key elements to the behavior image model. Well, number one, you use positive images to increase motivation for change. Positive images are more effective. There's less side effects than negative images, although we continue in prevention and health and medicine to use negative images, positive images better. Secondly, we use multiple behavior goal setting to increase self-control or self-regulation skills. Those are the two components. Let me give you just a little bit more information about it. And of course, you as the prevention specialist, I know those of you that have participated in our previous trainings or webinars may have already be introduced to this, but these slides you would present to your youth leaders or your youth group, and then they would understand the basis for presenting and providing to their peers sport, PPW, or vaping, PPW, or marijuana, PPW, etc. So that's what this is. You would be using these to teach your youth about the prevention plus wellness behavior image model. And now you would talk to them about why images, particularly positive images, are so effective. There's three sources of evidence for that: conceptual evidence, research evidence, and practice evidence. Just taking a look at the conceptual evidence, we know that there are multiple health behaviors that emphasize modeling and image as effective and as influential for young people to make decisions, particularly health decisions. Just one model alone, one conceptual model is called the possible selves theory, very, very powerful theory, and it describes how youth uses images of themselves in the future and of their peers, and that plays a major role in their health decisions. So that and Bandura's social marketing, social influences theory, and others definitely focus on images, modeling, positive images in particular, being very, very effective, theoretically speaking. Also, research supports that images play a main role in youth making health decisions. And you could see this under different, if you search different types of research, you could focus on self-concept, there's research there, prototype images, research there, positive selves, positive identity. All of these areas, you'll see how images, and particularly positive images, whether they're social images, future images, that these images play a main role in the decision-making that youth make with regard to their health, risk behaviors as well as wellness behaviors. Lastly, we've had decades of evidence of practice in marketing, in advertising by the world's major companies, and continuing even today, as you can see in the image to the right, where you've got a beer company, are we having blank yet? They're using these appealing images, positive images of young people, happy, healthy, socializing, smiling, males, females, and they're selling, and it's a very, and they're spending millions and billions of dollars on this kind of advertising, this appealing positive image advertising, because it works in selling their products, whether it's alcohol, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's cars or clothing, doesn't matter, it works. And prevention plus wellness programs. And you can use these images to sell healthy lifestyles to young people. And young people can use that content to influence their peers to make healthy choices. As far as the multi-behavior goal setting goes, we do know that research shows that goal setting is effective in both initiating and maintaining behavior change. So building in goal setting, very important. Setting and monitoring goals increases self-regulation, self-control skills over time. The behavior image model shows that goal setting includes not just, again, avoiding substance use, but also promoting wellness behavior. So it's multiple behavior goal setting, which is quite unique. And then lastly, Setting goals. Let's see here. Hang on a second. Setting goals. That's actually blocked up. Adding co-signing increases motivational strength. That's just a little twist to it. Research shows that by adding co-signing, makes it a public document. And then, so when you do goal setting, you can make this, turn this into a public contract by having somebody co-sign or co-author those goals that youth set, whether it be a peer, whether it be a parent, whether it be an instructor. Very important part to increasing motivation when you do goal setting with young people, or adults for that matter. Now, there's 4 strategies that youth can use to provide prevention plus wellness programs to their peers. 3 of them are right here. Essentially, what youth can do is they can use this 3-step screening, feedback, and goal setting, brief intervention as it is, in 3 ways. They can present this content to their peers in person, in a group. That's what you said was most interesting to you. Secondly, they could do this live to their peers via Zoom or any other video conferencing platform, Microsoft Teams or Google Classrooms, etc. But especially during the pandemic, that's an option that gives them flexibility and teaches them some other skills for them to work online and to present these prevention plus wellness programs to their peers, not just in person, but even by a live video. Thirdly, they can cut a video using YouTube, for example. They can record themselves and they can send links to their recorded sessions to their peers. So those are 3 out of the 4 ways. Now, just a note, the program slide images can be tailored to the particular audience that the peers are implementing this to. So if the images aren't spot on with the kind of youth they're talking to, in other words, maybe their youth consists of more African Americans, then they could change out some of these PowerPoint slides that you'll be seeing for this the sport PPW program for high school in a minute. The 4th strategy that youth can use to provide this prevention plus wellness program and others to their peers is to use the components of this program, which I'll be showing you in just a moment, as media marketing strategies. What do I mean by that? Well, under A, for example, they can use the screening survey. Remember, screening, feedback, goal setting. They can use the screening survey questions to increase reflection and awareness of personal health and risk behaviors of youth online. In other words, just cut and paste a brief message, put some image to it, and that can be sent out on media, social media, whatever youth want. Another example, B, they could use, and you'll see this in the messaging, use this combined wellness/substance use risk behavior messages to highlight benefits and behavior barriers that you should be concerned about. In other words, what are the benefits of wellness behaviors like regular physical activity, and what is a barrier or harm of, let's say, marijuana to achieving a physically active lifestyle. And also youth, through those messages, those combined wellness/substance use messages, which you'll see in the sport PPW program and all PPW programs, is youth learn about how these different behaviors interact with each other, how wellness behaviors protect youth from substance use, how substance use harms wellness behaviors and lifestyle. C, you can also provide additional substance use risk messages targeting other substance use risk factors, which I'll show you in a moment. D, you can use goal setting, contracts, pledges to initiate and maintain change. And that could be within these little messages that you create or campaigns that you create in your media marketing or your social media. And lastly, E, providing youth with any opportunity to engage in any wellness promoting or pro-social behavior is prevention. That could include any opportunity for them to eat healthier, to engage in any kind of fun activity, physical activity, to get more sleep, to control their stress, or any other behaviors. It could be the arts, it could be music. All of these things are positive, pro-social behaviors. And while they may not be, in the physical realm or even the health realm, they are very important to promoting overall wellness of young people. Now, let's take a look at the intervention slides themselves. These are the slides that youth would present to their peers, live, in person, online, live, with some format like Zoom, or they would cut a video, or they could cut and paste parts of these and present these in messages in media messaging. So remember, the focus today is on the Sport Prevention Plus Wellness Program, the high school version. So this could be taught to, from you as a professional to your high school youth, to present this to high school peers, same age peers, or maybe slightly younger peers. It also could be really taught to college age or young adults to present to older adolescents. So just to remind youth, this is a 3-step process. All Prevention Plus Wellness programs, the first step is to screen participating youth or young adults for their current health habits. The purpose of this step is to increase awareness of the current habits, including substance use, as well as wellness promoting behaviors. You just walk your youth, and your youth walk their peers through these slides, and it tells you, and it just cues you as to what to do. It's very simple. The first step is, again, screening. So you're going to ask your youth to complete a health and fitness screen. And the easiest way to do this is to just ask youth to pull out a piece of paper, and on a blank sheet of paper. You can do this again in person. You can do this online. And you can do this in video, and you could have them write answers to the screening survey. This is the Sport PPW Program Screening Survey for high school students. What sports and physical activities did you play in the last year? So if you're presenting this to youth, and then youth present this to their peers, you just repeat the question, and you say, now get a sheet of paper and write a number 1. And for any of these things you did in the last year, you just write the answer down. So under number 1, sports and physical activities, if you threw a baseball or a softball, or played baseball or softball, or played basketball, or even dribbled a basketball or shot a basketball, you write those answers under number 1, because you did those in the last year, in the last 12 months. Same with riding a bicycle, dance, cheerleading, gymnastics. You go down the list. The list is long. It continues on to the next slide. And then eventually you get to the last item, which says others, and you encourage youth to answer anything else they've done. Maybe a regional sport, lacrosse, cricket, polo, bocce ball, pickleball, anything. And you want to give youth support for and credit for, if you will, any kind of physical labor they've done, mowing the yard, cleaning the house, any kind of a chore or job that they might have. So youth get to see that a lot is going on there. Question number 2, do you participate in a physical activity 30 minutes 4 or 5 times a week? For example, riding a bike, running, walking, so on. So they put a number 2, and they answer yes or no to that. That's a regular physical activity question. Question 3, this question is unique to the sport high school version program. Do your friends influence you to participate in regular physical activity? Write a number 3. And if they do, you write yes, or you write no, or you put A, or you put B, whatever you'd like. Question 4, do you usually eat a healthy breakfast each morning? For example, low-fat milk, whole wheat toast, oatmeal eggs, etc. And then you answer question 4, yes or no. Question 5, do you usually get 8 or more hours of sleep each night? Write a 5, and then write yes or no. Last question is, during the past 30 days, what's the greatest number of alcoholic drinks you've had at any one time? Now for this, you could just answer this question to yourself. That'll protect your confidentiality. You look at it, was it 0 drinks, 1 drink, 2 drinks, 3 drinks, 4 drinks, 5 or more drinks? Just answer that item to yourself in the last 30 days. what was the greatest number of alcoholic drinks you had at any one time. That's screening. That's step number one. Step number two, feedback. We're going to provide feedback on each of these behaviors, targeted behaviors in the screening survey. We're going to focus on the benefits of those wellness behaviors and how particularly alcohol and then other drugs interferes with or harms those wellness behaviors and those positive benefits and positive images. The purpose is to trigger desired positive future and peer images that youth already have. They just come up unconsciously, and that will increase motivation for them to take the next step to start setting goals, to initiate the behavior change process. Prevention plus wellness programs are motivational screening and brief interventions, evidence-based practices. They're designed to motivate and maintain behavior change. Step number two, feedback. So here are the slides for feedback. See that we're restating the screening survey questions, starting with the very first one. What sports, physical activities did you play in the last year? Raise your hand if you did any of these. So if you're in a group, in person, you go down the list. Who played baseball, softball? Even if they just threw a baseball or softball, raise your hand. If you present this online, you could have people, depending on the platform that you're using, you could have them click on the hand raise. You could have them click yes. So it depends on the platform and the options you have in communicating on that platform. How many of you played basketball or shot or dribbled the basketball? Raise your hand. Rode a bicycle, and you go down the list, and then at the end, others. Again, you'll encourage some feedback on that others. And this is a very important critical norm message you're providing to youth, which says, my peers are physically active. Very positive, very powerful message. Then you simply present the content. Now, normally, for a professional like yourselves, prevention professional, health professional, if you're going to provide this program, Prevention Plus Wellness, the Sport PBW program for high school, you would have a program manual, you'd have a script, and you'd be focused on implementation with fidelity. Here, because we're having youth present this to their peers, we're less concerned about that. We want to make it easier for them instead. So no script, they just go by the slide. So they could show the slide, read the slide with the peers that they're presenting this to. It goes along quicker, it's much easier, less effort for them, and much more practical. So this slide highlights the benefits, including the positive images, looking fit and strong, very motivational, cues those images of themselves in the future being more fit and strong. And these are the benefits of physical activity in the last year. Here's how alcohol and drugs do not mix, do not fit with an active lifestyle. Hurts your relationships, hurts sports, how you feel about yourself, energy level, etc. Then the second question on the screening survey is repeated. You answer this to yourself as you present this. Say, just answer this to yourself. Do you participate in any physical activity at least 30 minutes, 4 or 5 times a week, like running, riding a bike, walking, etc. You present the positive images associated with regular physical activity, 30 minutes, healthy heart, lungs, control stress, increases feelings of success, well-being, etc. Notice the images, positive images. Now, when your youth present this to their peers, if that's not an image that captures your population they're presenting it to, they're welcome to switch it out. And notice this two-step messaging. First of all, you're cueing, triggering all these positive benefits and images related to that wellness behavior. And then you're showing how alcohol, drugs interferes with that behavior. In between, we've built in these discussion questions. This is very critical when you present in a group setting. You want to pause. You want to give youth an opportunity to think about themselves, about their own lifestyle, about their situation, their context. What types of sports or other physical activities would you like to try or do more of? Pause, and then maybe get 2 or 3 responses. Let people raise their hands. You could choose them. If you're presenting this, if youth are presenting this online, they could have people respond in the live chat option. read 2 or 3 of them, but you really want to move along quickly because you've got a limited period of time, and you want to get your screening and your feedback and your goal setting all done in one session. All done in one session. And so if you've got 45 minutes, that's a little bit of a tight window, but you can do it. You can get it all done if you move along quickly. So you do want to ask these discussion questions. You do want to pause. You do want to get a couple responses, but then you want to move on with the content onto the third screening survey question for the high school version of sport. Your friends influence you to participate in regular physical activity. You answer this to yourself. Here's the benefits of that. Discussion questions. Which of your friends and family members encourage you to engage in the healthy habits and promote your fitness and health? Just to think about that. You could maybe have a couple of responses. And again, here's the substance use interferes with that. And then on to healthy breakfast and eating. There's the benefits, there's the positive images. Stop and think, what types of healthy foods would you like to try or maybe eat more of? And then here's how alcohol, in this case marijuana, robs your body of vitamins, minerals, leads to weight gain, etc. So you're linking always the wellness behavior with the substance use. Wellness behavior benefits and positive images, substance use being harmful to those behaviors and those images and benefits. Same with sleep, benefits, stop and think, how can you increase your sleep or the quality of your sleep? How alcohol, tobacco, drugs interferes with sleep. And then on to 30 days alcohol. Answer to yourself. Here's where we have more content because we're addressing more risk factors, more substance use risk factors. Notice, by the way, I think you get an idea. You could cut and paste any of these messages and use them in media marketing and social media, or you could alter them somewhat. But you get this idea of what you're trying to do, these two-step messages. Step 1, benefits of a healthy wellness behavior. Step 2, how substance use interferes with that. And then when you get to this content where you're talking about alcohol risks, you're going to have more slides here because we're talking about more risk factors. So for example, we want youth to think about how alcohol and drugs can interfere with their lives if they were to engage in that, if young people their age were to drink. And then after they've thought about that, you've got a couple of examples. You could show some more with this slide, how it interferes and causes arguing and fighting and things you later regret and shallow conversations, etc. Have you think about why a person like their age might overestimate the number or percentage of their peers who drink alcohol. And then you'll explain why that is the case right here. That's a social norm messages. Actually, people their age do not, most of them do not drink alcohol. We want youth to choose for themselves, and we want them to think about alternatives, healthy alternatives to alcohol use, and here they are. And then lastly, recommendations for increasing wellness. Number 4, avoid alcohol, but also these other substances, tobacco, e-cigarettes, and so on. But number 1, get plenty of sleep. Number 2, eat breakfast, eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. Number 3, get plenty of regular, fun physical activity. That's step 2, feedback. Step 3 in this 3-step process is you're going to have youth complete a multiple behavior goal plan contract. That's going to increase their protective behaviors, decrease their risk behaviors, and this is going to initiate the behavior change process. And here it is. You say, complete a goal plan, answer this on a blank sheet of paper. So just like the screening survey, you have young people provide this on a blank sheet of paper. That's how the peers can present this to their, youth can present this to their peers, either in person or online or by video. And you just walk them through the goal setting, starting with number 1, asking them, will they pledge to avoid alcohol and drugs in the next 7 days in order to maintain an active and healthy lifestyle? It's important to link that those positive images with that. So they put in number 1 and they write yes or no. That's the first step. Step number 2, they're going to pick one of these areas for writing a wellness behavior. It's going to be A, B, C, or D. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, or stress control. They pick one of those areas. So number 2, they pick one of those areas. They could put an A, B, C, or D, or they can put sleep, nutrition, exercise, or stress control. And then you're going to walk them through steps 3, 4, and 5, which is to write the goals in a concrete way, measurable, achievable, and also identify the quantity and the frequency. So the youth leaders can just walk their peers through a goal setting process. Then they're going to say to their peers, in addition to yourself, who else will you tell about this goal? Who else will you ask to co-sign it? And this is critical to maintaining and improving and increasing motivation for change. It could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be an aunt or uncle, trusted friend. They identify somebody, they write it under number 6. And then lastly, number 7, they write where they're going to post their goals and follow them every day for the next 7 days. So we're talking about writing a wellness goal in one of those areas, sleep, nutrition, or breakfast, physical activity or stress control, that's measurable, that identifies the quantity and the frequency, and then you're going to post that goal, have a cosign, post the goal, and then track it for the next 7 days. Then you could, the peers can just read this concluding statement, congratulating them for their efforts for moving forward with setting goals. So it's all posted right here in the slides for the youth. Then you could say, remind the youth to take their goals that they wrote on a blank sheet of paper, to have them co-sign. They sign it, they could have their co-signer co-sign it, and then that's the end of the lesson. That's the intervention itself, and you thank the youth for participating. Now, let's take a look at some pre-intervention or post-intervention strategies. We looked at pre-intervention concepts. Let's look at post-intervention strategies. One of them is to practice. Practice is essential. Practice, 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 and that's about it. Practicing 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, going through those intervention slides. If you're going to present this to your peers in person or online, or before you cut a video, whatever you're going to do, practice, 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 going through those slides, reading the slides, looking at your youth, having good communication skills, loud voice, lots of enthusiasm and passion, and to ensure that you implement this with a lot of good communication and presentation skills. This is a tool to help you with that. This is the tool that you as the teacher will present to your peer leaders, and then they'll use this when they implement this to their peers. And this is the instructor survey. This should be completed at the end of every lesson that the youth present to their peers. It's a 7-point scale, a self-evaluation scale, although the adult mentor can use it to observe the youth providing the program to their peers, and then use this as an evaluation tool. So these are the things to keep in mind when you complete this. You're reminded of things that are important, like number 3. What was your level of enthusiasm and passion? Hopefully it's on the high end of the scale, 4, which is a lot. If not, practice some more. Number 2, did you use active presenting strategies? Good eye contact. Eye contact means good eye contact whether you're implementing it in person or online. I'm looking at my camera right now, which looks like I'm looking directly at you. Changing your tone of voice if you're in person, moving around. All of these things really important. So this instructor's survey should be completed by the youth that are presenting this to their peers. Every time they present it to their peers, they should complete an instructor survey to evaluate themselves. You, as the mentor, can also evaluate them and then provide them with positive feedback. What did they do well? What can they work on? So that they continue to develop their presentation skills. Which is so critical to a effective implementation. And that's it. That's the end of it. These are the slides that a prevention or health specialist can use to train peers to train youth, I'm confused, I'm sorry, to train youth leaders, we call them. And then the youth leaders can use these intervention slides to present this to their peers as a in-person group intervention, as an online live intervention, or as a recorded intervention, or they can cut and paste some of these, some of this content, the screening surveys, some of the content of the slides, the feedback, or the goal setting. All of that can be used in multiple media marketing and social media messaging. A lot of content here, a lot of tools for young people. If you're training young people to be leaders or to provide prevention programs to their peers, this is a great model. It's very cost effective. It's very efficient. It's a single session. It can be expanded if you want to go beyond that, but it's very practical because of that. And we make it even more practical because we set aside the manual and we really focus on youth just presenting using the slides, not worried about, you know, fidelity as much as really giving youth an experience and teaching them about different health behaviors, how they react with each other, giving them that wonderful leadership and service experience to present these very important messages to their peers, and giving them options to do this in different formats, live in person, live online, by video, or using the content in the intervention slides for media messaging. All right, I'm going to stop at this point and see if anybody has any questions or comments. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes, and I'm going to open up the live chat and see what we have here, and see if anybody has anything that they wanted to ask. Good morning, good morning. I could hear you. Okay, nothing there yet. So you've got time right now. Let me know if you have any questions. Was this clear? Was this understandable? Most of what we do, I'll be honest with you, most of what we do, we provide much more training and programs for professionals like yourself. But I know many of you have youth groups, and I know that your youth groups need direction and they need tools. And I think this is a great tool to use to train them and then to give to them to provide evidence-based screening and brief intervention content, programs, strategies to their peers. And so I think it's awesome. I think it's a great practical tool. In addition to you, as the prevention and health specialist, providing these prevention plus wellness programs, using the full fidelity of your program manuals, as well as your slides and your training. So you could present this to youth, and then you could train youth using this mechanism, these slides and this kind of training. You can do this to train youth, or certain youth, to present this to their peers. Looks like I've got a couple of new messages, so let's take a look at them. So, great presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't see any questions. It's all working. Last chance to ask any questions, to make any comments. Did you have something else you wanted to talk about? Are you providing youth leadership training? What's going on in your area with the pandemic? I know you're interested, based on the polling, I know you're interested in marijuana. I know you're interested in youth being trained as peer leaders or implementers, especially face-to-face in groups. Is that going to be something that's practical you're going to be able to do this coming fall with COVID-19? I'd love to hear from you. Let me see what's going on. Now, we got a couple of comments in the Q&A area. Let's go take a look at it. This is my first time participating in this training, and I must say that I'm glad to have joined it. The training was very clear and presented in a very effective manner. Thank you very much. I always love the positive comment. Will you be sending the PowerPoint slides so that they're able to be implemented with our youth leaders? So here's the bad news. I'm going to be sending a link to the recorded session, but this is one of our programs that we do charge for. So this is actually something you purchase. So it includes these slides and the training for you, and then you turn around and you provide the training to your peer leaders, and you monitor them with implementation and assist them with implementation. So at this point, we can't give you the slides because this is really programming material. The cost is $4.99 per instructor. But the beautiful thing is you get the 1 hour training like we went through here today. You get the content in these slides, and then you could implement this to dozens or hundreds of peers. They can turn around, youth, and they can turn around and implement it to dozens or hundreds of their peers. And you can really have an exponential growth, a real public health effect by engaging your youth as not just as recipients of evidence-based programs, but actually including them as like paraprofessionals, if you will, training them to turn around and implement evidence-based programs to their peers. I hope that's clear. Great presentation. Do you provide live recorded sessions to train youth? We could do that. We can do that if that's what you prefer. If you prefer us to do the training to your youth, if you prefer us to cut record this as it's already recorded, this or something specific to this or particular similar to this, we're happy to do it. Remember, this training it was focused particularly on sport prevention plus wellness for high school. We have all these other programs, and I do know youth, and I do know, as you've said in the welcome poll, you're also interested in marijuana. We have a marijuana PPW program, high school, middle school, elementary school. You were interested in e-cigarettes. We have a vaping PPW program. That's our e-cigarette program. And all of our other programs. So we have lots of flexibility, lots of opportunity to implement these evidence-based screening and brief intervention programs to youth, or you to train youth to provide them to their peers. So that's just a second avenue. This youth training, I think, is a very, very important tool to provide. But you obviously have to watch your youth. You have to have mentors oversee this so that youth make sure that they're implementing things and that they're learning through this process. That's the key thing. They're learning, and that they have a good leadership and a good service experience, which I think is great. It can be a very powerful experience for them. And it could be high achieving youth. It could be regular youth. It could be high risk youth. All of those categories of youth can benefit from being trained as peer leaders, as peer educators. Thank you. The cost seems practical, and hopefully our agency and program will agree with me. Oh, well, that's wonderful. That would be great. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you for that. Let me check the live chat one more time, see if there's any other questions. Did you already share the link for the recorded webinar? No. Good question. Everybody, later today, will get an email from me. You'll get a link to the recorded webinar. It has to be processed yet. It takes a little while. And we process it. We download it into YouTube. And so it'll take a little while for that, but not too long. I'll send that out to you. Everyone will get a certificate for 1 hour CEU credit for participating. And so do watch for that today. If you don't get it, please check your spam folders, because it includes this attachment for the certificate. And sometimes organizations will have filters, and they'll send those kinds of messages that have attachments to spam. So do check your spam at the end of today if you haven't received an email from me. But that's my goal. I'll be sending it to you as soon as we process the recorded session, and I'll send it out to everybody who's registered. All right, you're welcome. Thank you all for participating. Let me check one more time if there's any Q&A. Great, thank you. Do you have a package, or do you have to purchase by each substance? Yeah, each one of these is a program. Each one of these you would have, that's a good question. So for example, let me just clarify this for everybody. So This training and these materials, as we said, focuses on, this is youth leadership training that you would provide to your youth. I'm happy to do it if you want me to live, or we could record it as well and then give you these slides. But this is focused on the Sport Prevention Plus Wellness program for high school. Remember, we have all these other programs. We've got sport for middle school, elementary school, and all these other programs, some of them for youth, some of them for young adults, you know, different substances, different issues, even racial justice. So there's a lot here to choose from, and every one of these would be different, because when you get to the intervention, there's the intervention slides. It's not going to be sport PPW for high school. It'll be sport PPW for middle school or elementary school, or vaping PPW for high school, etc. So that's why each one of these will be a separate intervention. Same 3 steps: screening, feedback, goal setting, but the content will be different. Pretty much the same pre-concept information, and the post-intervention, pre-intervention concept information will be pretty much the same. The post-intervention instructor survey will be the same, but the actual implementation, the actual slides to implement the program will differ from one PPW program to another. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clear. Let me just see if there's any other questions. Thank you very much. Useful information. Well, thank you. And let me check one more time, Q&A, before we wrap things up. Yes, it did. Thank you so much. Great. All right. Well, thank you guys. Please protect yourselves, protect your families, stay well. God bless you for what you do out there with the kids, with the youth, with the young adults, and the families in your community. It's a great pleasure and honor to be working with you. If we can help in any way, let us know. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'll be in touch. Bye-bye.